All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Jimmy T Podcast. I am James.
And I'm Brandon.
And we are back this week after what was a hard finish Tuesday night because the night stay in New York did not last past Tuesday night for the NIT Final Four, as unfortunately, as we did discuss, TCU, this wasn't going to be... I thought it was a winnable game, but the odds were probably not in their favor going in.
I was not expecting this, but hey, that's why you play the games.
No, that's why they still have to be played, because
we upset Illinois State, we upset Illinois, and TCU did the same to us. So
yeah, and it was kind of the good thing. I don't know if you said it on the episode last week, but I kind of used this because I said this to a lot of other people. I referenced you, but I thought it was good was that you said they probably had a better chance of winning the final than they did the TCU game.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that was a very good statement because it made a lot of sense because kind of when you're in a tournament, you end up stealing a game or two from a team like we did for Illinois State. We stole probably a game and a half in that.
I agree with that.
And then so it means it's coming. Like it's going to swing back and it's going to catch you. And unfortunately, it caught the Knights at just a really bad time.
I don't know. Obviously, it would have been great to win the tournament. Nobody wants to come in fourth to third range. But I just think it's more positive almost to say that we beat Illinois State and Illinois, just two much bigger teams. And obviously, some people might take it as it might not mean anything now that we didn't, follow through and win it all. But the thing is that we beat one team that should have been in the tournament.
Yes,
a lot of people
Illinois
said
State,
should have been in it at home, which is very positive.
Yes.
And Illinois, another great team. So it's a moment of disappointment with the TCU game.
Yes.
But that should nowhere near be a damper on the season as a whole, which has been a phenomenal success.
Yeah, and I think an easy way to do it is because the standard you're always going to judge a team by is whether or not they make March Madness, the big tournament. And I think the blemishes on UCF's resume, I think they kind of corrected them in the NIT where it was winning on the road in a hostile environment against a good team. They didn't really do that this year.
Yeah.
They drew up blanks against SMU on the road, against Cincinnati on the road, and Memphis on the road.
Lots of away games just dropped.
And it's understandable because going to hostile environments, it's hard. It's hard to win
a big
games.
Difference, especially in college settings. It's a big swing.
Winning on the road is not easy at this level of sports, like in any sports, but it's very hard to do. And so it's a critique you can have for a team that maybe just was 4 or 5 games away this year. And I mean, and that's not much considering they improved regular season wise 6 wins in 1 year. No, 8 wins in 1 year. So to say they need to win half more than they already improved this past season for regular season,
very doable, especially with a lot of them just so close games.
Yes. And so and something like that to kind of look at, like they kind of covered up and showed that they could improve from some of their weaknesses, playing big teams and having important games at home, must-win games. They pulled those off. They had away games. They had games where they had to grind them out. They had to come back, where it was just a little bit of everything in the NIT, and I think it was a wonderful experience where even when I said, like, hey, I would love for these guys to get into the NIT because not that I thought that like they could go as far as they did, but it was something that it provided players that are coming back in a BJ Taylor, an AJ Davis, a Taco Fall postseason experience, which is a beautiful thing to pass on to these transfers that are coming in and even new recruits before these guys fully head out on their way. And what I will talk about the game is I thought Taco, I think he had a hard fought game, but I don't think he played poorly for this game, even though he did foul out at the end, but it was a bit of a frustration foul at the very end.
In a game like that, falling out at the end isn't, terribly surprising.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I thought he had a very positive game.
Yes.
A couple of the other players just came up a little short. Not to say that
it was hard because I know at one point with about a minute or two left, I saw one of the UCF writers I follow said BJ Taylor and Matt Williams combined were 9 for 28 up until that point for the game. So when 2 of your top point getters, scorers, whatever you want to call it, when they're not scoring, you're going to lose every single time.
Yeah. So when the offense isn't there, you don't win games.
No, and it kind of exposed another critique that they had over the season. I feel like we're critiquing them so much, but one thing that they need to look at to improve was their outside game. That's why the team was like firing on all cylinders for this 10-12 game stretch, was because they had the interior play. They had the paint game.
Yeah.
But it was the outside shooting.
And that's what they really hustled with, and like towards the end of the season, they were just nailing it and looking amazing. And then they just kind of went back to the old ways, or just
and it shows when the shots aren't landing, then they're in a really tough spot, and it looks like a team that needs shots to drop.
Games are really easy when your threes just keep going in.
Yep.
But
and it was hard because it's not like you wanted to say that no one cared about the performance. You could see, like, and that was almost what I think prevented them from potentially getting back into it. Not that they needed to care less, but it seemed like they were really pressing. Like, there were a couple threes where it was like, ooh, that looks like me shooting out there. Don't do that. Like, that was not a smart move, where it seemed like a panic shot from time to time. And it just was because I think they kind of felt like they were on the ropes, and they were, and they kind of blinked. And so it was just kind of hard because there was only one team got to have a great ending to this tournament, and that was TCU.
But that's any tournament.
No, and that is absolutely any tournament. There were, how many teams were in the NIT? Was it 32?
32.
It was 32. So out of 32 teams that were invited to come, only one team got to have the best ending possible. So I think when you look at it from that perspective, that the fact that the Knights got to go on, we got to have so many great experiences, I feel like it was a good run.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you were saying, it gets some of the returners that postseason play.
Yes.
So when they get that experience next year, they won't be as nervous.
No, because they're going to be veterans at it. Yeah.
And they'll be able to kind of talk through the other younger players and just say, like, hey, like, it's different because obviously when you're playing past the regular season, everything's so critical, everything matters.
Yeah.
But just having that confidence and just that understanding. So I definitely think that this has been very positive.
Yeah, and if this entire March Madness tournament, we're recording during the Oregon-North Carolina game, just to date when we're recording this a little bit, you can see that a team like South Carolina, even though they did lose to Gonzaga in a very tight game in the Final Four,
but
that's SEC's not a basketball conference.
Not at all.
They have Florida and Kentucky, but that's it. Those are normally regulars in March. Outside of that, they normally have a handful of teams show up.
A couple teams that float,
but
maybe.
Rarely do they make noise and make the Final Four outside of Florida and Kentucky the way they did. And so it kind of showed, and it was kind of an interesting formula there with South Carolina. A school that wants to do better at basketball. Their women's team is in the national championship game. That'll be, I think, tomorrow for the women on Sunday. So it'll have already happened by then. But so it's a kind of show that a school that is a football school is able to place a little bit more focus on basketball with having a coach, because their coach for South Carolina was formerly at K-State, which was, I kind of recognized the guy. I was like, who the hell is that coach? And then I couldn't place it. I thought he was Northwestern for a hot minute, and then I saw somewhere post that it was like his former K-State coach, and I was like, that's who it is.
That explains
and
a
so
lot.
And that's the thing, that he got experience there, and he was able to bring that to a school that I wouldn't say South Carolina is a basketball school.
Oh, not at all.
They're in the SEC, which is not a basketball conference, and that's okay, SEC, because you're really, really, really good at football.
They're the best at football.
Yes.
So they don't need to be a good basketball
and that's fine, but it just kind of showed that it's an interesting parallel to a team like UCF, that is more of a football school, that has now trying to place a little bit with a better coach that has more experience from elsewhere to kind of come in and bring that winning culture, or at least wanting to create a winning culture within a basketball program. Shows that sky's the limit.
Yeah,
and
anything can happen.
I'll be very happy with as long as we're in the conversation to make the tournament next year. That's all I want.
Oh, I don't think that we're gonna make it to the NIT finals next year, because we're gonna be in the big tournament.
Oh yes, I would. That would be amazing, and I think that's something that if we really want to, because we've on this show we've kind of talked about the ending to football. We're talking about the ending to basketball, to kind of draw those parallels there. I was not happy with how football ended. I wasn't. I thought they blew the bowl game against a horrible opponent. I don't think TCU is a good basketball team, but at least
they're more competent.
Yes, I respect that a lot more than who was it?
Arkansas State?
Was it Arkansas State, Alabama State, something like that. We played not a good school in basketball, and we got handled in the bowl game, and so it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth because we still didn't have a winning record on the year. We finished 6-7.
Yeah,
and I think for many people, the excuses kept being, well, we had 0 wins the year before, but how long is that going to be your golden standard of, well, we didn't do that?
Exactly. When you're going into the bowl game, an even team with a lot of incredibly talented players, and you just lose to a terrible team, you can't use that as an excuse.
No,
it's not last year's fault. It's this year.
And then on top of that, and then to kind of tie it back into basketball, it was like basketball kind of showed us this year that you're able to have a really successful season that's a winning season and get you in actual contention for a trophy to bring back for the school, turning it from the next season with majority of the same people.
Yeah.
Now, it's very hard to compare. I'm not saying Coach Frost has done a bad job. I just think that it's easier to be more positive about how basketball ended because I think this was a really successful year.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's up there. It's probably the most successful UCF basketball season in the modern era.
Oh, I would 100% agree.
I would fully walk out onto that limb. Getting our first ever win in the NIT, having it be at home, being able to have a massive win against a Big Ten team in Illinois on our home court, be on ESPN in the Final Four in Madison Square Garden, that sounds like success to me, even if it's not coming back with a trophy.
Yeah, I would completely agree with that, and it's just more of has a positive momentum going into the next year. So.
Where football doesn't have that. And so I think that football is just going to be near and dear to my heart, so I think I'm going to be a little more critical of it because I want that success, and we've seen that they've had it in the past. It just kind of for me is that keep pushing, and that kind of you could see that with basketball that Coach Dawkins is going to keep pushing these guys to get better and better. And it just was, and I think that's what hurt more about this loss to TCU.
To get so far and know that we can do it.
And just to see that we've beaten better teams and better programs, and to kind of fall at that point when you were just so close, even though we went a lot further than probably a lot of people thought we were going to go.
Oh, yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, we made our way into the NIT basically in the last quarter of the season.
Yeah.
Even because we went on that just winning run, because I think even on this show, I think I may have said stick a fork in them. Like I think I got to that point.
Times that we knew that it was about
that it was kind of they were drifting off to the other side, and it was basically like we had a bunch of games left on our schedule of like Cincinnati and a lot of other ones where it was like games. If you don't pick this up, you're not going to make it to anything. And they ended up going and picking them all up. And so it's just good because it kind of shows it's important to be hot at the right time. And it just was a good season. And it's exciting to think back to it, to break it down. And I think that's what, like I said, it just makes the TCU game hurt a lot more, I would say. And then for those that were frustrated like you and I were and refused to watch the NIT championship game, we did end up score watching at the end, or at least I did because I was curious. And we did lose to the champions of the NIT, so there is that.
It was a little
They ended up beating Georgia Tech by 32 points.
Stupid.
That is the second largest. That is tied for the largest win margin in an NIT final.
Yep. But like I said, the TCU game was going to be much harder than the finals.
No, and that's exactly how it is, and it's kind of it's nice that we're able to be disappointed by losing in the Final Four of the NIT, like to be able to have that deep into postseason play and be like, darn.
Like we should have had it.
When we could be sitting like at the War on I-4 standings and be like, oh, like our basketball team sucked, like our tennis team lost today. Is that what it was? Tennis?
No, our tennis team won today.
No, I'm talking about USF. Like USF. Like our basketball team sucked. Our tennis team lost today, and we're moving even further behind the War on I-4. That's going to be a lot of fun if that ends up being a wide margin to have up there constantly being updated.
Just a nice little reminder, a little pick me up. Sometimes I'm feeling down, I'll just start my day, just
look it
check
up.
That score and just be like, yeah. I go to the right school.
Yeah, no, and it was a lot of good stuff. And then what we will talk about is football. We're slowly getting there to the UCF Festival. Oh, I don't like that name because I'm not sure like if I'm pronouncing it. Is it UC Festival or UCF Festival?
I'm just gonna say the Festival
because the way it's spelled is UC Festival.
So I'm not gonna get too hung up on the semantics of the name, but I'm really excited. It'll be an amazing thing to just see how the teams progressed, what they're looking like, and it's always cool to just get more football.
Yeah, and it'll kind of have that little added excitement because everyone's going to know what the heck they're doing now, because that was kind of the interesting thing about last spring was with Coach Frost, that this was the first time we were able to see like him coaching the team.
And he won.
Yeah, and yeah. I mean that was the beautiful thing about the spring game. We couldn't lose.
Couldn't lose.
And that is the beautiful thing about the spring game this year. We can't lose.
Yeah.
Technically. But no, it should be a good time to kind of see a lot of these players. Won't see Tristan Payton, or maybe we will. Maybe the suspension won't count until
real
the
games.
Regular season. Who knows? But it'll be exciting to see everybody out there, and that'll be a great time when we get to pretty close to that. We'll start rolling out some of our features about some of the football players and the ones we're really looking forward to next season, and even some position groups that we think that we want to talk about and could be key for next season.
Exactly, to see what we want out of them and what they need to do for us to be the most successful.
Yeah, because we don't need to put the tent pole in too early with what we're wanting to talk about for football, but I will say for the way fans should be thinking is that 0-12 season, we need to forget about it, because we should have forgotten about it well during last season, and kind of the point that like this team needs to start being competitive.
Yeah, no excuses,
because the facilities these guys are starting to get, it's not going to look good if you're in a fancy workout room in a fancy athletics village and you're not winning games.
Yeah, so
and losing bowl games against crappy teams.
Yeah, so it's getting to the point now where the team has no excuses, and I think Frost isn't a guy that makes excuses, and no. I think he'll hold the players to that standard that they need to realize, like, hey, we're gonna win.
And that's something with Coach Dawkins as well, and kind of Coach Frost from when I've kind of heard them speak, and some of them I've seen Coach Frost in person speak. It's kind of refreshing to me because of my own sports background with kind of the Bucks, that we kind of had a frustrating stretch of like 4 years of two coaches that were like kind of treated fans like they were stupid and then did a lot of stupid stuff. To kind of then have that coach that's like yes, like I'm frustrated, like we're not doing well enough.
Honesty is refreshing.
That's something that's great, and that's something that Coach Frost is the first one to say, that he was frustrated with the quarterback position last year. He was very, very blunt about it, I would say, in a press conference, to the point where for me it was kind of like, I'm really not going to like berate this guy about it because
he gets it. He knows there's a problem, and he's going to do everything in his power to fix it.
And that was the thing with Coach Dawkins too, is because he's very open to talk about the team's struggles, and I think that at least for me as a fan, I greatly appreciate it, because it's something that is refreshing and is something that I think will be kind of a driving force for these two teams. But I will say, to kind of parallel, I would say basketball's on more of an upswing. Football, it was up, and then kind of
season level. As a whole, very positive ending. Yeah,
and then talk about that's kind of flatlining a little bit is baseball, because they just started American play.
Yep, they just started conference play yesterday. We won, but today we fell to Houston. So far 1-1 in conference. We got out to that really hot start. But have picked up some losses. Only one or two of the losses I would call bad ones so far, but we definitely should have beaten Houston again today. And the team does a lot of good stuff, but sometimes we'll have those games.
And that's the thing, is that because they got off to such a hot start, that they need to, like, they did all the hard work to build up their resume of beating a lot of out of conference teams to, like, look, we're good. But like, don't tank it. Don't tank it as soon as the wins really start mattering. But I mean, like, they're 2 games in, so
I'm not worried.
No, but I will say their most recent stretch is kind of like they've dropped some games. They need to, you can't be perfect in conference play, especially in baseball.
Yeah,
that's hard. But definitely for them, like, let's get that needle going back up.
Just get the momentum. Hopefully a lot of fans go out and support them, because it's always great when the baseball fans just get real rowdy.
Yeah, baseball is a very unique sport. Speaking of baseball, are you looking forward to opening day?
Yeah.
Is that a thing that you get excited about?
Yeah, I like baseball.
I'm not excited for it. I'm also a Rays fan, but that's its own separate set of issues. So no, because even with the minor league baseball team, their opening days this week, and it's a lot of the people there are like really big baseball nuts. I think actually
this is their Christmas.
My fantasy baseball draft is going on right now as we are recording, so it shows how dedicated I am. Like even my baseball team, it has a Mickey Mouse carrying a football. That's my team logo. So perfect. I'm just letting you know who you put into this league. But no, that'll be a lot of exciting. And next week we'll talk about the national championship game for basketball, because that will have happened by the time
I'm excited
we get
to see that.
record. And we'll talk about the women a little bit real quick before we get out of here. We'll talk about what you think of UConn losing.
Oh, UConn women team, love them. So it was just really disappointing, but hey, every historic streak has to be broken at some point.
Yeah, it has to end, and I kind of because I didn't get to watch the game because I was working.
Ending was heartbreaking.
I was working WrestleMania Access. It was very, very big stuff because WrestleMania is tomorrow, and it was difficult because I did see, because I'm a big fan of that, because it's just excellence like that on such a level. Not a lot of times you get to see it.
Coaching perfection, especially.
Oh. And then to kind of see when they were tied at overtime. So I got the update they were down at half. Then to see they were tied going into overtime.
I thought that was it. I thought that's when UConn was just going to take over, dominate, win the game, move on.
I said to my girlfriend, it's going to go either two ways. That UConn is absolutely going to slam the door shut, and they're honestly probably going to go and be undefeated for another season.
That's what I thought was going to happen.
It was either they were going to completely slam the door shut on anyone ever beating them for a while, or they were going to drop a game. They dropped the game. And it's just like that, because once a team kind of gets you to wobble, like in a boxing, like once you kind of get back up onto the ropes, you either fight off them or you end up going down. And it's unfortunate, but honestly, it's just going to be the start of a new streak for them. They're not going away, because it's up there with your John Wooden.
Dynasty.
Yeah, it's like with Wooden's Bruins. Like it's up there, and it'll definitely be looked back on as especially a golden just period for women's college basketball.
Yeah. They won't be remembered for the loss. They'll be remembered for the wins.
Oh, yes. No, trust me, they'll probably win the national championship next year, because that's the last thing a really talented program needs is motivation.
Exactly.
and they're going to have plenty of it. But no, this has been it's been a decently busy week, especially UCF wise, and so we'll just see what next week brings as we talk about the show, because we are kind of getting into a little more off season. Thankfully, football will kind of give us that bump before we get into the summer, and then we'll have to figure it out after that.
I'm sure we'll find something.
Yeah, we'll find something. But in the meantime, if you want to see some awesome pictures, you should go to UCF365.com, because we'll even have some pictures of New York, because Leland was able to go out there and was able to shoot at least one game.
Yeah,
unfortunately, but definitely one game he was able to get a lot of awesome stuff. And so
took some amazing pictures.
Yes, and that content will be attached to this video. If you're watching it on the website, it should be down below the video. And then if you're on YouTube, click over to UCF 365 and check out a lot of awesome pictures to kind of get that feel of the nights in New York.
Yeah.
And don't forget to check us out on social media. Feel free to talk with us. I know I randomly tweet stuff about games, so
it happens.
Yeah, get in on it. And love to interact with viewers/listeners. And we'll be back next week. And this has been another episode of the Jimmy T Podcast. I'm James.
And I'm Brandon.
We'll see you next time.